Friday with the three of us, because why not? All-Star voting just opened, I guess, 2 days ago, because we're recording on Thursday. It opened on Wednesday. And naturally, we get to talk about the best player at each position in each league. So, you know what? That'll kill about half an hour. I think we're good with that. Quick super regional preview. We didn't line up on the regional preview with Peter Flaherty of Baseball America. We didn't line up on the super regional preview with Peter Flaherty, but he promised me the Omaha preview, which is probably like best. Better to get an Omaha preview than a super regional preview, I think. So, you know what? We're going to try our hand and tell you who the best players in the supers are that you can just kind of, have a menu to watch over the weekend. Arm, you're shaking your head, man.
I really wanted to grill him on Evansville.
Like,
I just wanted
hey,
to
who
see
are
how
they?
much, like, Pete Flaherty's as good as they come. I wanted to see how much he knew about this Evansville squad. I was going to pull up the roster and I was just going to start grilling him.
Dude,
But
he
who
would have
knows?
told
Maybe they'll
way
make it
more
to
on it.
Omaha.
Yeah, man. I mean, at this point, you have no idea with college baseball, too. What was it? The thing is, like, Oral Roberts was a 50-win team when they got there. Evansville, it's just, oh, okay. Like,
But
that's the team from Indiana.
Evansville is also facing Tennessee, and the last time a number one seed won in Omaha was, I think, back your University of Miami Hurricanes arm. So it's been a very long time since that number
And that
one
had to
seed
be a
has won
long
it.
ass
Yeah.
that had to be a long ass time ago if it was the
Exactly.
Canes.
So I'm telling you, Evansville is in a decent spot, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit.
That's
Oh, nice.
crazy. I'm excited for that. It's a loaded just baseball show. Of course, we're going to wrap with hitters of the week and games of the weekend. But Peter, who's it brought to us by?
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Here we go, folks. Here we go. We're going to use code JustBaseball when we download BetMGM. Why? First bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. What the hell does that even mean? Well, when you download the app and you deposit and use code JustBaseball, you place a bet at standard odds. If it wins, nothing happens. You win your bet. I'd love to win a bet one of these days. But if you lose, you'll get it all back in bonus bets. Remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older. Terms and conditions apply.
When was the last time you guys bought a Fiji water? I just bought my first Fiji water in like 3 years.
I get made fun of
Airport.
because I use like a Stanley water bottle that all the girls
No.
use that my girlfriend got me. So, no, I haven't bought one in a while.
It can survive a car on fire. That's the big thing, right?
Is that accurate?
That's how they got huge. Like there was a woman
Really?
whose
I didn't
car,
know that.
yeah, there was a woman whose like car caught on fire and her Stanley was still fully intact. Like she went into the car that was like pretty much burned down and the Stanley still had ice in it. And the CEO of Stanley bought her a new car. And that's how the boom
Wow.
of Stanley came about.
Wow.
Well, how indeed. And I
Pretty
got
That
one.
is Yeah, I mean, dude, that's honestly, I need to get on that. Like the hydration aspect there, like you're much more efficient hydration wise if you got one of those. I keep just walking back and forth and filling up like my glass of water with the sink here too. It's just the tap water. So like if something's bad in this building's tap water, I'm toast because we record this. I refill like 8-10 times a day, just guzzling that water. So we'll see.
Get
See,
yourself a
that's why you got to
Stanley.
put it through like a 6-year-old Brita, right? Like, isn't that the key? You just run it through the Brita and the filter's expired, doesn't matter anymore.
Nope. Yeah, it's just not worth the time. I'll just drink it.
Easy. What were you going to say, Peter? I cut you off so rudely.
No, I was just going to say, I remember in college when we had just the most mildewy Brita filter. And it's
Oh,
at a
it
certain
was like
point,
worse. It made it dirtier.
literally, it was worse water than just getting it from the tap in the frat house. So, yeah.
Ew.
Yeah, make sure to change your Brita filter. I know there is going to be someone, let us know in the YouTube comments, change your Brita filter. I bet many of you haven't done it in a long time.
That's gross.
Or just get a Stanley water bottle, not sponsored. And if you ever get into a car, you know what? Let's just move on.
Yeah. Ohtani and Skenes. That's where I want to start here because I am still on cloud nine from those two plate appearances. Skenes was getting whiff after whiff with the four seam. I think he got 10 whiffs in total, 12 whiffs in total, and like all but 2 or 3 came on the four seam fastball, which was kind of crazy. But matchup number 1 with Ohtani after punching out bets was 100 Bayou, 101 Bayou, and then 101 for strike 3. And then the rematch came a couple innings later, and it was swing and a miss at 100, swing and a miss at 100, and then 100 caught a teensy bit too much of the plate in a 2-2 count. And it resulted in this, which I thought was baseball in its purest sense. It is Skenes, if you're joining us on YouTube, smiling after Ohtani hit that. He met his match, and it's the best player on the planet. That was so poetic. It lived up to the hype of Ohtani versus Skenes on Wednesday. And the fact that we got the image of him smiling, like, what else can I do? It was 100 elevated, and he took it 107 dead center. I thought that matchup of the year at this point when we talk pitcher and hitter.
Two crazy stats just off of that. So I wanted to see like how many fastballs in the top half of the zone, 100 plus miles per hour, were hit out at up to this point in Major League Baseball. And there was one other one, which was Gary Sanchez hitting a Aroldis Chapman sinker that like ran off the plate away, and Gary Sanchez clipped it the other way. That was the only other one. But crazy enough, we had two yesterday. Mason Miller, 100 plus miles an hour, top of the zone. Julio Rodriguez clips it for a homer. So we had one all year, and then we had two on the same day yesterday of 100 mile per hour fastball, upper half of the zone getting hit out. That was weird. But beyond that too, like I think it also shows you like the fastballs, even when guys know it's coming, like it's going to be hard to time up, but it just shows you like the best hitters, they can make that adjustment. Like they can look lost. They can be blown up for the first few fastballs. And then Ohtani, guys like him, and there's other players that can do that, can recalibrate and get to it. And I think we saw in this outing, like, I think this was like the bad version of Skenes, I think, where it's like all he has is the fastball. Like he only got one whiff outside of the fastballs. It was one slider. So like that splinter just wasn't there for him location wise. Like the Skenes where he's fastball dependent, or the other version when we saw in his debut where the fastball wasn't there and he's dependent on his secondaries, is still 5 innings of, 3-run ball and 8 Ks against the best lineup.
The Dodgers.
Yeah, against the freaking Dodgers. So I think that's the cool part of it too.
And I know he's a young pitcher, and sometimes I get really excited about guys. Overly excited. But you know what? Let me be overexcited with this matchup. This felt like watching, if you're a Marvel fan, Captain America against Iron Man in a battle. Just felt like two guys who look like bigger than life and just have so much more talent than everybody else on the field. And that's including a field with a lineup of all-stars that we're probably going to talk about and put in our all-star lineups in a few moments. Paul Skenes, just like when he takes the mound, there's a certain amount of bravado. It's just like an enormous human shoving fastballs. And that's why I love these at-bats against Ohtani. All heaters, just top of the zone gas. I'm going at you with my best pitch. Let's see what you can do with it. And we talk about the home run, but there were plenty of whiffs, like Arm said there before. And then the fact is that Skenes smiling after that was just an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. And it was awesome beyond just breaking it down analytically. Just so incredible to watch.
You could argue that's the first matchup that Skenes has had with opponents that can hit the heater. And if you listen to our conversation with him on the call-up, he pretty much said, like, he didn't use his splinter at LSU because guys couldn't hit his heater until he got to pro ball. And even then, like, what does hitting the heater look like? It doesn't look like 107 dead center for pretty much everybody except to Shohei Ohtani, which absolutely insane. Arm, I love the point you bring up because it really felt like he tight-roped through 5 innings a 3-run ball against the best lineup that we've got in baseball, arguably. And I know there's no Muncy in that lineup, but man, I mean, that is a murderer's row up top. And the way he dismantled them in the first, did that make you buckle in? It's like, okay, here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also kind of had this moment, and I don't think I would have had this thought unless you had like you having that interview with Skenes that we put out on the call up and just being able to hear him speak and talk about like the way, his mentality, the way he attacks hitters, things like that. Yeah. I part of me, like the traditional side was like, oh, like, this is going to be a big moment for Skenes. And, we'll see if he rises to the occasion. And maybe he nibbles a little bit or whatever. But, I called back to that conversation that you guys had and hearing the way that he describes his stuff and hearing the way that, he goes about his business. I was very confident going into that game that he was going to go right after those motherfuckers. And like, that's exactly what he did. And so like right in the first inning, just to go right at Mookie and then go right at Shohei and then right at Freddie, like that was encapsulates everything that he says. Like, you hear a lot of guys say, like, I have this confidence, I feel like I can beat anybody with this stuff or that stuff, but then they don't quite practice it the same way on the mound. Naturally, they'll start to nibble a little bit as they get adjusted to the big leagues. He did not feel like he was confident going out there that his best stuff is better than Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman's best stuff. And, I think he felt that that's going to be the case when he executes, but I think he also saw that sometimes they're going to beat you too. And I think that's where that smile was, because I don't think that was a very familiar feeling for Paul Skenes. And it must have been probably, obviously you don't want to give up a home run, but if you're going to give one up, I bet he'll call back to that one, way down the line and look back on it pretty fondly, I think, especially considering how much they were up too.
Yeah, real quick, Peter. It's like, it's so funny that, there are so many young arms that have a welcome to the big league moment that is forever burned into their brain. It's like, this was my welcome to the big leagues moment. And chances are, like, the casual fan has no idea when that moment was. With Skenes, we know when that welcome to the big leagues moment was. It was like, oh, yeah, no, you smiled when Ohtani took you 107 dead center.
The only thing I was going to say to wrap this one up quickly was I'm really glad Arm brought up that point about nibbling, because it's one thing to say you have confidence in your stuff, and then it's another thing to actually do it. We've seen plenty of great young starting pitchers come up from the minor leagues and they're nibbling a little bit. Another great example, right, is Grayson Rodriguez. Before Paul Skenes, the best pitching prospect to come up, nibbling a little bit, struggled early, then goes back down, then comes back up, and is now just awesome, because of course he is. But Paul Skenes, I felt like from the jump, ever since that first start against the Cubs, I think that I have better stuff than anybody in Major League Baseball can touch, and I'm going to show you. So I'm sure Paul Skenes is sitting there saying, yeah, those 3 runs, they beat me with my best. That shit happens. And it's still the Dodgers, and he still put himself in a chance for his team to win, and the Pirates did win. It was awesome.
It's interesting. Have you guys looked at his Savant page and, like, just the pitch by pitch breakdown, how hitters are performing against each pitch at this point? It's small sample size theater. Like, he's only thrown 193 four-seam fastballs, but opponents are hitting 289 against his four-seam fastball. It's sitting, 99.4? The splinker, he's thrown it 150 times, sitting 94.4. Opponents are 2 for 33 against it. Like, the one we knew, the pitch that made him the number 1 overall pick, opponents are hitting 290 against at the big league level. And the pitch we didn't know existed when he went number 1 overall, opponents are hitting 061 against.
Is that a win for the Twitter folks who said he's going to be a bust because of bad fastball shape arm? Is that a win for them?
Ooh, that's a great question.
That could be a win for the trolls.
Sometimes they're right.
Where do we fall on that? Have you seen the parabola graph? I sent this to Aram, I know. The parabola graph where it's like you've got the dumb, the normal, and then like the all-knowing and wise, where it's like the dumb, who cares, he throws 100? And then like the normal person is at the top of the parabola. It's like, no, his fastball shape is, suboptimal, and, his IVB isn't great. And then you've got the all-knowing that it's like, who cares, he throws 100.
I love that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things now where I hope and I know he was the game was on MLB Network, like, televised all of his starts. If it's not nationally, obviously you can't do that every time. There's a lot more logistics to that, but like the regional coverage from MLB Network, like, it's your responsibility to pick it up. Like, you need to market the hell out of this guy and make sure that, especially with the blackout restrictions and all these things, that, people are able to go see or watch on TV this guy throw, because, he's going to have that effect that, I can only call it to, and I'm sure, fans of teams that are listening right now can probably call to specific examples of like when a pitcher on their team, brought more people into the stands and brought more people to the ball games. But, I think of Jose Fernandez and what he did for the Marlins. And I know the Pirates are a much more storied franchise when it comes to, having a fan base and things like that. But, as you're coming out of the back end of a rebuild here and just getting butts into seats, they don't sell out every game. Like, Paul Skenes also on the road is going to bring more butts into seats. Like, Jose Fernandez did that. And now in an era where you have social media operating on a different level and you have way more visibility and reach, Paul Skenes can do that on like tenfold. And I don't want to put that pressure on him because at the end of the day, like his responsibility is to go out there and win ball games. But this guy has an opportunity to really take baseball to another level and help them in an area that has been incredibly frustrating, which is marketability and just notoriety of their stars. And that doesn't have to have anything to do with his girlfriend, which now also, of course, helps the whole story and the whole picture. But that doesn't even matter at this point. Like, he has a chance to be that next guy, whether he actually is the Cy Young winner or not. He's just a guy that you tune in for.
I love that. And the road game attendance bump, real quick, before we move on to the All-Star voting, is something that I think is so important to highlight there, because you are going to get an increased attendance for road starts for him. Ohtani is so far and away the number one draw when it comes to the road attendance bump. And we saw two of, I think, the top three in baseball right now when it comes to road attendance bumps on Wednesday night. Skenes, Ohtani. I think Elly De La Cruz is number three. But I think it's Ohtani, a huge gap, and then I think it's Skenes and Elly that are right there, that are going to draw people to the ballpark.
Judge and Soto.
Also, that pickoff move. That pickoff move is nasty.
He's an athlete, man. He's a big athlete. Judge and Soto, too. But, like, that's the Yankees, too. It's the Yankee brand.
Yankees draw everywhere.
To the ballpark, it's tough. But, like, hey, you could argue it's the Dodger brand too, and the Cincinnati Reds brand with Elly.
But I'm also biased, so I have to put those two guys in there. You knew that was coming.
Understood. Yeah, no, I go for Austin Wells, but you can go for Soto and Judge if you want. Okay, let's jump into the All-Star voting here, because All-Star voting just opened on Wednesday, and I saw a lot of the preliminary, ballots that were put in. I love that Brandon Anderson was one of the Kickstarters behind the Get Martin Maldonado to the All-Star Game movement, and our guy Addison picked it up as well. Do you guys want to latch on to that, stuff the ballot box for Martin Maldonado?
Here's my one issue with that one, because I feel like as baseball fans, we maybe should be rallying around Salvador Perez, who's also kind of in that bucket where he's a very lovable guy, and if you're going to take away something from him as a troll. Like, if there wasn't other great catchers in the American League and the race was kind of wide open, I'd be more engaged to troll like that. But I can't, because I want to get Salvi in this All-Star game.
Right. Like, if we ran into a Arcia Geraldo Perdomo situation.
Exactly. Then let's screw it up a little bit. But Salvi is just the man right now. And
that is true. If it's a mid-off, then let's just make it a meme at that point. But I am with Peter. Like, I love the effort, and I think White Sox fans should run with it. But
fuck it.
They need something. But it is funny because with the way baseball is so much about awards and statistics and everything, especially with a guy like Salvi who probably wants to build it and a Hall of Fame case if he can do it for 5 more years. But the thing that's interesting to me is that just ends up being something that matters so much, even though it's such a popularity contest. That said, I've already also picked my absolute, I'm going to just sell out, even if he goes 0 for 40 for the next 2 months. I'm pushing Davis Schneider on my all ballots, although he is actually on the brink of deserving. But I Davis Schneider, we're going to have him on the show and hopefully in the next few weeks. And, literally to just, it's almost the equivalent of a politician doing his rounds and just getting to know, his constituents and things. I want people to get to know Davis Schneider so that they all vote for him incessantly because that guy deserves it. I don't even care if he has a 500 OPS. That guy deserves it for his journey alone. But that's the only one that I will sell out for, whether there's better candidates or not statistically. Although I do think he's got a pretty good case alone there. We'll get to that in a moment.
I think he's got a great case. I already have the slogan picked out for him. Canada's behind me. Are you? Question mark.
That's a good one.
With the mustache and the just staring into the distance.
That's
right.
Yes. I don't even have no notes. Just great.
Really good. Can you text that to Davis and tell me what he says?
Yeah, he's playing right now. I'll hit him with that one after.
But Aram, we can't forget this. Jack is on a streak of putting out exactly what those teams tend to market. Jack, literally on this show, a day before they did it, said, let's do Jake Burger's going over to Miami. Easy one. $5 burgers. Jake Burger night. The next day they did it. So somebody.
And it was also their best marketing idea they'd had in years.
Ever.
So
that's what I'm saying. Jack is on a heater right now.
I like the all-you-can-eat seats at this point because you see people pushing like themselves to the limit. You see them pushing their bodies to the limit at Lone Depot Park on a random Thursday.
Lone Depot is the perfect park to do the 9 hot dogs, 9 beers challenge. Like,
Yes,
there's
because
not a
it's
lot
not
of
like you're going to
noise.
get out of the parking lot when you're still buzzed.
There's going to be no lines at the concessions. I mean, it's the perfect place to do it.
I think so.
That actually is that is a good point.
So here's how I kind of want to do this, and you guys tell me if I'm being stupid and you want to make your own. I think we should kind of group think our
Great.
initial, ballot, and then we can just kind of put that out like, hey, we've got our AL and NL starters here.
I'd rather do a snake draft and win. No, I'm just kidding. Let's do this. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I love the creating a ballot together.
Yeah, I'll take Mike Talkman in my outfield. We're going to run thin in the NL outfield. So, okay, AL catcher. Let's start with that. Salvi is the war leader at this point. It's a 2-horse race between Salvi and Adley. I have a soft spot for Salvi this year, at least. Like any other year, I'd say Adley, but I don't know, with with all the Hall of Fame dialogue and RMTs, like I think Salvador Perez needs the nod here to boost up that Hall of Fame candidacy as best he can.
He's the war leader and the OPS leader at the catching position. He leads all catchers in OPS as well. It's got to be Salvi. Like, Adley is a better player than Salvador Perez, but Salvador Perez has had the better start to the year, and he's been so impactful to the reason the Royals are trying to win a division right now. While the Orioles just have all the good players, they're going to have plenty of all-stars anyway. Adley's going to make it, but to start the game right now, it's got to be Salvi.
You know, it's crazy. We got kind of like there might be a little bit of like a voting rivalry here, because when we get to shortstop, you're going to have two guys between those two teams duking it out as well with Bobby Witt and Gunnar. So I think it's going to be fun to see. Kansas City, though, if you remember, like when they were like fire and they, were in the World Series multiple times, like
starters.
They were running the table with the voting. Alcides Escobar was like, yeah, do you remember that shit? Like,
yes,
it was
right.
It was all Royals. So I think Salvi's going to run away with it. And I think I don't know what they got going on in Kansas City, but they were somehow able to mobilize. Like, we got to get them on the Schneider train somehow too. Because, Massey would have been the guy they voted for, but now he's hurt. So maybe we can mobilize Kansas City to help us out there.
Arm, if you're talking about politics, when we're talking about David Schneider, maybe some under the table moves like all these politicians do anyway. Like, hey, Royals fans, we slide you David Schneider, we'll propagandize every Royal you need.
Propagandize. Is that
propaganda?
A verb?
That might be a word. Is it?
It might be.
It sounds like one.
Arm's going to Merriam-Webster right now.
Tell me that it sounds smooth. And it's one of those things.
It is a word.
Yes.
Bang.
No, I'm just kidding. I knew it was.
Oh, yeah.
I knew it was.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
NL catcher. I want to pose this to Aram first. This is a 2-horse race. You got two guys at a 2.6 F4 entering play on Thursday. Will Smith has a 147 WRC plus. William Contreras at a 146. Again, they both sit atop the WAR leaderboard at 2.6. Is it Will Smith or is it William Contreras?
I hope I don't like continue a trend of like small market bias here, but like and I know it's not an MVP award at the end of the day, but I just look at these players and how important they are to their teams, to the point that Peter made with Salvi. And like, it's not to say Will Smith is not integral to the success of the Dodgers, but you take William Contreras off of this Brewers team and, I think it looks a lot different. So on top of that, Contreras, just how much he's playing too. Like, and I know that would help Will Smith's WAR argument, but I think just being a catcher that's back there, and he's played 62 games already. Like, this guy is grinding back there. I think it's Contreras, but I mean, they're right next to each other there. And, it's pretty damn close, but I think Contreras is just way too important. And I think by the time we get to the All-Star game, I think his numbers will be better.
I love the point that Arm made about the games played. You're so right. Like, when I'm going over the picks for the day and, William Contreras has caught 3 or 4 straight games at catcher, you might be saying to yourself, all right, William Contreras is probably not going to catch this day. He might not be in the lineup. Maybe we don't look at the Brewers today. And then I look at the lineup. He's in the DH spot. No matter what, they keep his bat in the lineup. And this is not taking away anything from Will Smith. But Arm, I couldn't agree with you more. Like, I feel like the All-Star game is a great opportunity to showcase the best players in Major League Baseball from teams that maybe not everybody is watching as consistently as a team like the Dodgers. If it's razor thin and it's basically tied, tie goes to the small market, in my opinion. So I'm going William Contreras as well.
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. My thing, much like what Aram is saying, like without him, where's Milwaukee? Without Will Smith, where's LA?
Yeah, like F4 can't quantify that perfectly. Like they could do as
No.
good of a job as we have in any number, but the pure valuable of what William Contreras is, it's hard to quantify.
No, I mean it's do you want the fifth best player on the best team, or do you want the best player on the eighth best team? And like they happen to come out to the same value when you accumulate everything over the course of a given year.
But also, god damn, do I love Will Smith. Like, yeah, I don't want to. I mean, the way he's been able to control the run game this year, the improvements on defense, and then the reason I always love Will Smith the most is against high velocity. He's like a beast. Everyone who's throwing 100 or just at the top of the zone, like he just gets to those balls. And that's been a story throughout his career. So it's just I love watching him hit. But yeah, I'll go with William Contreras.
Does he still rank number one in blasts?
Does he?
I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah, he's special, man. Like it's every year too with Smith, and like he's going to be an all-star regardless whether he's a starter or not. So, he's a guy that I think pretty much every single year is going to find his way in there.
Yeah, 100%. All right, first base, NL I think is very easy. Peter, you go. Nice hat, by the way.
Are we talking about NL first baseman?
Yes.
Nice
hat. Nice hat, Peter.
Well, I was trying to, create some whatever. Yeah, it's Bryce Harper. Yeah. I mean, he's leading in OPS, leading in everything.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie's got a case, but you got double the home runs with Harper. I mean, it's got to be Bryce Harper at this point. I think it's comfortable there.
Yeah. AL is wide open, and you've got, I think, a whole bunch of like B+ options. I really don't think there's an A option at this point. I narrowed it down to 3. Ryan Mountcastle in Baltimore, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Josh Naylor.
What a good, all-star balloting for our narratives. I mean, Naylor versus Vladdy. I'm probably going to go with Naylor here.
No way, really?
No, I think I'm going to go with Mountcastle. I mean, Ryan Mountcastle, if we're looking at home runs, has 16 compared to Vladdy at 10, Naylor at 9. I mean, this is a slugging type position. And Mountcastle's playing better defense than Vladdy is anyway. So my pick is for Ryan Mountcastle.
I'm trying to think. Like, I think you could go kind of a lot of different directions.
Definitely.
But well, first of all, can we just put it out there? Because when I was looking at the ballot, like first base in the American League sucks right now.
It's not good.
It sucks. And the thing is, third base in the American League is the best position in baseball right now. Like, I wish we could just take a third baseman from the American League and just put him over at first and have him start there. They deserve 2 starters.
It's just so weird. Like, I was shocked when I went to look at the ballot. I'm like, wait a second. Like, I don't even know. I think to me, I'm undecided in terms of like, I think it's going to change. Like, Vladdy right now is on an absolute heater. Like, he could end up, kind of separating himself there. But at this moment, I think it's got to be Mountcastle, because I think what he's doing overall is, and also just, it seems like it's been a matter of getting healthy for him and being right and being available. And he's just been raking and he's been really hot. So I think it's Mountcastle at this moment, but I think Vlad could kind of close that gap.
Speaking about welcome to the big league moments and about how hot Vladdy has been, as we're recording against Cade Povich hadn't allowed a hit through, I think it was like 2 2/3. And you got a couple runners on, and Vladdy takes a slider on the outside black and just hits it the opposite way. It was just one of those classic, like, Vladdy is just strong. He ranks 3rd in hard hit rate this year, and he's finally kind of starting to elevate. That was where I was disappointed with him. I know he hits the ball a metric ton. Can he pull the ball in the air? He's finally doing so, and we're seeing the results. So yeah, Vladdy deserves it. But also, Royals fans, we'll vote for Vinny P. Just do us a favor, right?
That might be
I
dipping
need
too
Vinny
deep.
P. I need him to start hitting more. Like he's been fine. I for my agenda too. Like I would love to vote Vinny P, but it's too forced right now.
It is.
It's too
Like
forced.
he's got to help us help him.
But if we get Davis Schneider, we will vote
Yep.
for Vinny P. We will.
Yep. First
So
base, I'm willing to compromise some morals at first base. It's
100%.
there's no one out there that stands out too much.
Yeah. So majority wins, it's Mountcastle, but like for the sake of making Peter feel bad, my vote would go to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. right now.
Actually, can I change my vote quickly to Naylor?
Naylor. Sure. All right. 33 split. What do we do here?
Let's do Mountcastle.
No, we're doing Mountcastle. Second base, National League. I actually think it's pretty easy. Ketel Marte is running away with this, I think. And Ketel Marte has been with how underwhelming the Diamondbacks have been. I think Ketel Marte's 2024 is as underappreciated a season as we have in Major League Baseball right now.
Glad you brought that up. 100%.
Yeah,
I would also, go ahead on.
No, I would say it almost like I was surprised when I looked at the numbers. Like I knew he was playing well, but I was like, oh, maybe he slowed down. Like, why am I not hearing about him as much? I think it's just because the team has been brutal.
Because you're hearing about Carroll playing poorly, and you're hearing about Montgomery pitching poorly. Like everything about the Diamondbacks is, oh, they're underperforming. Oh, they're underperforming. Like we're ignoring the one good guy.
He's slugging 500, bro. Like, it's pretty wild. Yeah, I think it's easily Ketel Marte.
Okay, AL is tough. Like.
Wait, before we move on quickly, I think Nolan Gorman has a shot at this. He is second in OPS among all second basemen in Major League Baseball. I agree with you. I'm going with Ketel Marte. I just wanted to bring him up. But Gorman's defense has just been so poor. The entire Cardinals team has just been making a ton of errors lately, and a lot of them have been Nolan Gorman's fault. But pure offense started off slow and has just been destroying baseballs lately. So I just wanted to bring him up, give him some credit, but I agree. It's Ketel Marte.
So if you're bringing up Gorman, I'm bringing up Bryce Terang.
Yeah, another great one.
Should get low as
100%.
Should get love as well.
100%.
AL's really tough at this point, and I frankly narrowed it down to the two guys in Texas, Altuve and Semien. Semien's got a higher WAR. Altuve's Altuve. We know it's a popularity contest. Depends how you define the word popularity. I think Jose Altuve is popular. Like I think he could be negatively popular, but I think he's popular regardless. I lean Altuve because of the notoriety and, just because he's friggin' Jose Altuve, and Ty goes to the Hall of Famer, like in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I lean Davis Schneider, but if we're not going that route, we can put a little asterisk here, but
this is kind of somewhat of a mid-off. There are two players who are not mid at all, but in terms of their numbers so far this year, Altuve's got a 783 OPS, and we're looking at Marcus Semien with a 767 OPS, and he's hitting 264. This is where we go Davis Schneider. And it's not even like a meme. Dude's been great. Let's vote for Davis Schneider.
So the reason why I'd go Semien over Altuve is
I'm trying to push your narrative, and you're not even doing it.
I know. Well, I'm ready to push it. I just like for our official ballot where no one's gonna have the context and they're just gonna look at it and freak out.
I think that's fine.
I think that's great. I say we put David Schneider on this ballot.
Yeah. All right. I'm in on that. But just for the sake of everybody else who may want to vote whatever they want to vote and like wonder what our perspective is on it. Semien's defense just being far better than Altuve's kind of separates it. I usually don't care about that much, but if we're talking about like a tiebreaker here, this is where I will look at the WAR because Semien is so freaking good at second base defensively. 2.4 F4 as opposed to like a 1.5 is a pretty jarring difference when we're looking at like very similar offensive numbers. But that said, David Schneider is going to homer like 8 times in the next 3 weeks and get there on his own. So we'll go with Davis. I think at second base.
Agreed.
I'm in.
Better WRC plus than both of them, by the way.
So he should win. So if anybody says, "Oh, it should be Semien and it should be Altuve," you don't know ball. You haven't checked.
Yeah, and I don't care about F4.
Why would we care? That's a made up thing.
Who cares about F4, right?
It's a made up number.
Well, I don't think the MLB.com like ballot posts WAR. I think it just posts like OPS and all that stuff. So
So I never said anything about F4. It's pointless.
I agree. This is where we could run into issues. Actually, you know what? We'll go with the layup here. National League third base. Is it Bohm or is it Bohm?
It's probably Ryan McMahon. No, it's probably Bohm. I mean, Ryan McMahon has been awesome. 823 OPS.
He's been balling out, but Bohm's been balling out on the best team in the National League.
Yeah, I'll take Alec Bohm.
Yeah, and he's like
want to shout out
playing
Ryan.
defense. He's like playing good defense too, which is wild. How about Joey Ortiz though?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Little Joey Ortiz love. I think he deserves it, but yeah, it's got to be Bohm. I mean, what he's doing now defensively too. Like I watched the game the other day where I think he had 14 balls hit at him and made almost every single play, and they were all difficult. And he looks so comfortable and confident. And then the power, no brainer. Yeah, it's Bohm, I think. But I do think Ortiz does have a case. He's just Bohm is just doing it a little bit more loudly, I think. So yeah, I think that's why he's going to run away with it.
I really do think Ryan McMahon has the case too. I mean, I know he plays in Coors, so the OPS figures are going to be a little bit better. And I know he doesn't rate as well. And I'm saying I would go with Bohm, but Ryan McMahon is firmly in this conversation.
Yeah, he'll be the all-star for them. I'm not concerned about that. Maybe Elias Diaz is no, because
Cal Quantrill?
Cal might be the all-star for them.
Damn right.
You know what?
Actually, screw
Cal
Ryan McMahon.
and
We need
McMahon
Cal.
to the all-star game. Let's
Just
push
Cal.
it.
Just Cal.
Just Cal. Okay, that's fine. This is the one that really upset me when I was going through it, because if we're sticking to our Royals agenda, it's not like Maikel Garcia has been a slouch at third base in the American League. I think he's 5th in all of baseball among third basemen in WAR.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the top 5 are AL players in WAR at third base. Isaac Paredes is the WAR leader. Jordan Westberg has been balling out for Baltimore. And then, oh, by the way, you've got Jose Ramirez, who put together an insane month of May, and Rafi Devers, who, oh, by the way, put up an insane month of May. I don't know where I'm going out of the 4. I'm going to let you guys try and pitch me on certain guys, and I'll figure it out.
I can go first. There's a 60-point gap in OPS between Ramirez and Rafi Devers. But Jose Ramirez has also driven in 60 runs. 60. Like, Devers has 32 RBIs. Jose Ramirez has struck out 29 times this season and walked 21. Stole 9 bags too. Damn it. There's no wrong answer. I think I've got to give it to the guy whose team is in first place. I'm going to give it to Jose Ramirez. But if you say Rafi Devers, I'm totally fine with it.
So before Aram goes, you're eliminating Paredes and Westberg?
I'm eliminating Westberg. I'm not eliminating Paredes. Dude's been a freaking beast.
I think at third base, I'm gonna look a little bit more at the offensive numbers and a little bit less at the WAR output, and use that more as a tiebreaker. And when you're looking at what Devers is doing, like Peter was saying, from an OPS perspective, he's slugging 576. Yeah. And I'm trying to look at okay, who is the biggest outlier in a specific area? And Devers, I think, is in that OPS department compared to everybody else for the most part. And by the way, he's still hitting 288. And by the way, he's also one of the hottest hitters on the planet right now. He was banged up, missed a handful of games, and is still doing what he is doing. I want to go J-Ram, but I think just the offensive output of Devers right now is just on another level, especially with the ability to get on base at a 380 clip. That is also pretty crazy. 403 WOBA. No one else at the position is over 400. So I lean Devers.
Okay, so Peter, your team J-Ram, Aram, your team Devers.
I can also be convinced. I'm not sold on my J-Ram pick. I just think J-Ram, when we look at OPS, Devers has been clearly better, and it comes through in the power department. But Jose Ramirez has 60 RBIs.
And J-Ram
and he's also slugging 557. So it's not like he's getting no power. He also has 9 steals, almost as many strikeouts as walks. I think J-Ram's just been the slightly better all-around player, and he's on the first place team, but I'm staring at a 956 OPS for Devers. Just thinking to myself, I mean, shit. That's a pretty big number right there. So like I said, I could be convinced.
It's just tough because J-Ram has been on the field more. He's played 8 more games to this point. Yeah. He's got more homers. The stolen bases is another element. He's punching 11% of the time. I always want to go with the guy that just doesn't punch out.
Have you considered the ex-WOBA?
No, I haven't, actually. Should I consider the ex-WOBA?
315 ex-WOBA for Jose Ramirez versus a 376 ex-WOBA for Rafael Devers. And, I think ex-WOBA is the most important criteria for the All-Star game. I think that's what everybody
Strictly
bases it
because
on.
of that point, I'm going to go with the guy with double the RBIs. So J Ram's our starter.
Oh yeah, that's a real stat.
Yeah, real
Yeah, right.
stat. Ex-WOBA is too.
Arb, are you
Right.
good with us going with J Ram?
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's driven in 60 runs. Like and you can say what you want, but there's guys that just have a knack for driving in runs, and he's driving in runs with the best of them on a team that's in first place. So that probably means he's a huge part of that. And the stolen base aspect, striking out half the time that Devers is. But at the same time, like I would still go with Devers for my personal vote, but shit, I'm not gonna lose sleep over going J Ram instead.
Another reminder, Royals fans, let us know. We'll vote for Michael Garcia. I don't give a
We're
shit.
happy to.
Yeah, I don't care. Go
You know
ahead.
what, Rays fans, let me know if you want me to vote for Isak Paredes, because I'm like the first one to vote for Paredes. I might actually just like when I fill out my first ballot, it might just end up being Westberg, and like it's whatever.
Isak Paredes all-time spray chart. Just
Yeah,
it
but
looks
like
Didi Gregorius. His
I would say
spray
they shouldn't even call it a spray chart because
Yeah,
spray insinuates that like you are actually spraying it. It should just be a pull chart.
it's
But it works.
it works.
This is Paredes' hit chart and everybody else's spray chart. Okay. Aram, Bobby Witt Jr. or Gunnar Henderson?
Oh,
This is impossible.
no, man, that's tough.
You could argue these are two top 5 players in baseball this year.
It's crazy because Gunner's slugging more, but then Bobby is hitting 320.
And Bobby's also slugging 562 to Gunnar at 584, so it's not like crazy.
They're both like two shortstops are over 550 in the slugging department.
They have the same OBP at 371 exactly. Like, damn it.
And like we all, everyone has their own criteria for the All-Star game because like who gives a shit? Like it's like it's just vote for the guys that you think should be there. And for me, like shortstop, and I gotta just make up bullshit. Like that's how I've been doing it. We've been doing it since we punched the holes in the ballots as kids at the game. Like one of the weird things that I always look at is all of a sudden I care way more about defense at shortstop. So like I think that like that does matter a lot at shortstop just because I think I love watching these guys make crazy plays.
Yeah.
And especially like in the All-Star game. Like I want to see that 5-tool shortstop. And Gunner's playing great defense as well, but what Bobby Witt's doing is I think on a different level in terms of the defense. And then you also factor in he's got 17 bags. Yes, it's 8 less homers, but he's also like still within 15 points in the slugging department. So that means he's still grabbing doubles and triples and everything. So I lean Bobby Witt Jr., but man, like it's Gunnar freaking Henderson. I'm happy either way.
So when it gets down to the All-Star ballot, I always like to look at just batting average, slugging, OPS. So I'm really glad that we brought it up, and I'm just staring at 2 different numbers that makes me not be able to decide. Gunner's got 19 jacks to only Bobby Witt's 11. But then Gunnar Henderson is hitting 260 to Bobby Witt almost at 320. To be exact, Gunnar Henderson 266, Bobby 319. I think I'm just gonna go with Bobby because I'm keeping it in the same vein of J Ram versus Devers. Like I think Gunner's slugging is just putting him higher in the OPS department, but I think Bobby Witt Jr. has been the better all-around player. So I'm not going to keep bouncing around narratives. I'm sticking with that one, and I'm going with Bobby Witt Jr.
I will also go Bobby Witt Jr. because he is, at this point, is he the only 4-win player in baseball? No, Judge, I think, is at 4 wins now too, right?
I think so. What if we were going to tell you too at the beginning that the Orioles were going to have so many All-Stars, and our first one is Ryan Mountcastle, but not Adley or Gunnar.
Or Westberg.
Or Westberg.
Yeah.
Crazy. Like, and maybe not even Kauser either. They have so many guys that are like the second best to their position this year, which is crazy. And listen, I will take a team that has the second best in the American League all around the diamond 10 days out of 10. We're going to jump back in with National League shortstops in a moment, but before that, quick break. All right, National League shortstop here. I think it's Mookie Betts. I want to shout out Willy Adames here because he's been very important and has been a great shining light for the Brewers. That left side of the infield, much like what Aram was saying about Joey Ortiz, I think is probably the most underappreciated left side of the infield that we've got in baseball with Ortiz and Adames at this point. William Contreras is the all-star. Shout out Adames. Peter, you made the point about I think it was you want to see like the show-stopping abilities in the all-star game, right? You want to see the shortstop defense. Makes me think Ellie De La Cruz, but it's got to be Mookie Betts in year one at shortstop.
You know who it makes me think? Mason Wynn. Mason Wynn has been awesome this year. He's hitting 309, 359 OBP, 446 slug to give him an 805 OPS. Now, I know the home runs haven't been there, but if you want to see show-stopping defense at shortstop, the arm is what is it's breathtaking because it's the arm speed too. Like it just looks like it's getting fired out of a cannon. And with all that said, it's Mookie Betts. But
yeah, I said that'll be really cool in the 6th inning.
Exactly. In the first inning, it's going to be Mookie Betts because he's got a 906 OPS and he might win the MVP in the National League.
He's a 500 slug with 9 home runs. How is that possible? He's just an extra base hit machine. It's a Mookie and it's easy, I think. But that said, like Ellie De La Cruz accumulated like 2.5 WAR and then just stopped for a while because he was so cold. Like if he has another one of those streaks again, I mean, he could end up right at the end of the All-Star voting being right there with him. But at this point, it's easily Mookie.
Gotcha. The way I'm approaching the outfield as we like kind of go through them is I want to eat our broccoli so we can get to dessert. So I want to start with a bad one. National League. Who are your 3 outfielders in the National League?
Jerks and Profar.
It's like 2 Padres.
Like Profar and Tauchman might be in the starting outfield for the
Profar is my MVP vote.
That
motherfucker's flashing 323, 417, 482. The hell? On a $1 million deal, right?
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like it has to be Profar. He has to be
Profar. Profar and Tatis are the 2 locks in that outfield for me right now.
Yeah. And then I think it's Tauchman.
I mean,
we're not going to go with Cody Bellinger right now. Like, I don't think Teoscar deserves it either. I mean, like,
Yelich is Yelich. I know Yelich has played way less games, but the level that he's playing at since he's been available, and we're talking about big names and things like that. I think you gotta give it to Yelich. I feel like 309, 390, 515 /line.
Yeah,
I know it's not as many games and all that good stuff.
He doesn't even have enough games to qualify.
At this point, he hasn't qualified yet.
He hasn't qualified. That's the issue.
He's
will
not on the ballot. Do you have the ballot up right now?
What?
Do you have the ballot up right now? Like, is he not available to vote for on the ballot?
Oh, no. I'm just on MLB.com for all their qualified statistics.
Oh, yeah. So I think you can vote for anyone.
Fangraphs, you can like queue it, but I was like, give me MLB's official, like what's qualified, what's not. And I just, Yelich isn't on there. But I agree with you, Arm. Like, I'm down to just put him in there. But at the same time, not qualified.
I want to go Yelich, even not qualified. It's too good. What he's doing is too good right now. And I just don't like Tauchman. Great, reserve, awesome. I gotta have Yelich in there.
How about Brandon Nimmo?
No,
I'm good.
I'm good. Is it because he's from Wyoming or because he plays for the Mets?
It's because he's hitting 222 with a 384 slug.
Yeah.
And somehow has a 121 WRC plus, but I'm good.
He doesn't even have the highest OPS on his own team in the outfield. Starling Marte has a higher OPS than he does.
What?
Yeah, 740 OPS for Starling Marte, and Marte's hitting 276, while Nimmo's hitting 222 with a 735 OPS. Let's just we could put Spencer Steer. It's been awesome. 7 bombs, 770 OPS. In terms of all outfielders, he's 11th in OPS among those who qualified.
No.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, I'm down for Yelich. We'll do Profar, Tatis, and Yelich.
Yeah, Profar, Tatis, Yelich. You know what? That's fine.
That's a good outfield.
It's still broccoli. It's good broccoli. It's like, garlic, broccolini, that kind of thing. But
broccoli
now we get to the lava cake of Judge, Soto, Kyle Tucker. Best outfield since.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And what sucks is JJ Bleday has no shot here. And I mean that in a serious way. Among qualified outfielders, he's 5th in OPS for the Oakland A's, slashing 250, 335, 468. He's got 8 jacks.
Good
He's
for
only one
him,
of
man.
He's only one of 5 outfielders with an 800 OPS or higher. But he ain't. He might start for the National League if he could. Yeah, it's Judge Soto.
Wait, I have a vital question. Where does David Fry line up positionally
Is he a
for the
catcher?
All-Star game?
No,
Utility?
Well, is there a utility position? I don't even remember the
I think
ballot.
there
You
is,
can't
right?
vote for utility.
Oh, they put it.
Well, if they don't pick fucking David Fry, I'm gonna freak out. So, David Fry has to be in here one way or another. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the outfield, also, it's really funny if you cue American League WAR leaders, he technically slots in and counts towards the outfield as well. He's only played 42 games, David Fry, and he's 5th in the American League in WAR. The only guys ahead of him are Stephen Kwan, Kyle Tucker, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge. David Fry's 5th. That guy
What's
is
the position
unreal.
that he's played the most games at this year?
I think it's a tie between catcher and outfield. He's hitting 342. He has a 208 WRC plus, and it's not like he's played 20 games. He's played 42 games. This guy is unreal.
He's everything we thought Dalton Varsho would be.
Legit
Catcher outfielder.
He's goated. But yeah, it's got to be Judge, Soto, Tucker pretty comfortably, right? Stinks for that Kwan got hurt because I think Kwan could have been in that conversation just because he was raking, to the degree in the defense and all that good stuff. But it's got to be that trio.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think so. NLDH. So Ohtani. Got to give Marcelo Ozuna his flower. Like Ozuna's been raking, and Ozuna's going to be an all-star. But Ohtani.
Yeah, I'll take Ohtani, please. Thank you.
ALDH. Yeah. Who's it going to be, Mr. Layton?
American League DH.
Is it Rooker?
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, it's got to be Rooker. I mean, Jordan is going to get hot maybe and catches up, but right now it's got to be Rooker. I think when you look at not only what he's doing, but then also like where he's doing it and how he's continued to do it, it's a 161 WRC plus. I mean, Rooker's been a monster. So yeah, I think it's got to be Rooker.
Slugging 549 in Oakland. Jordan's at 485. They have a difference of 60 points in OPS. Same amount of home runs. Give me Brent Rooker of the Oakland A's over Jordan Alvarez. What a sentence.
What a sport.
What a sport.
Absolutely insane. Okay, so that is our lineup right now. Okay, so just to go over it again, American League. Catcher is Sal Perez, Ryan Mountcastle at first, Davis Schneider at the agenda at second. What was the slogan? Canada is behind me. Are you? I got to go back and listen to it. That doesn't sound right.
I think that
Jose Ramirez at third base, Bobby Witt Jr. at short, the outfield of Judge, Soto, Kyle Tucker, Brent Rooker is the DH, and then in the National League, William Contreras catching, Bryce Harper at first, Ketel Marte at second, Alec Boehm at third, Mookie Betts at short, Tatis Profar Yelich in the outfield, and Ohtani DH. American League wins 8-3.
Who would you guys vote to start the All-Star game? I know that's not really a part of the ballot, but I think it'd be cool to have a starter.
Skubal in the American League pretty easily.
Houck's got a
yeah,
case.
Houck's got a case.
Real case.
It's just
I'd go with Skubal too, but Houck's got a real case.
Like Houck has been, my thing is Houck has been awesome this year. Skubal is like the ace of those two.
Just so dominant.
We're not calling Tanner Houck an ace right now. We're calling Skubal an ace.
Maybe you aren't.
You didn't call Jared Jones an ace. Did he start Tuesday change your mind?
No, because I got to wait. Ace is a very heralded term. I need to see more from a guy before I call him an ace. Like, I'm not calling Paul Skenes an ace yet.
No. Maybe
him. No, but seriously though, it like I need more than 10 starts to be like you're a bona fide ace in this league. I think that's totally fair. It's not like I don't like Jared Jones. I think Jared Jones is freaking awesome.
I heard you hated him.
Yeah, I do hate him. We called him a bona fide ace, and I was like, oh, hey.
I didn't call him a bona fide ace. I said they have pocket aces. And you're like, are we sure Jared Jones is that guy? Are we sure he's elite? And I was like, yeah.
Are we sure he's an ace? I don't know yet. He might be one day.
Skubal. So Skubal's the answer. But what about Luis Heel, too? I mean, he's got a case, too. I mean, he's right there numbers-wise. But, yeah, I think it's got to be Skubal.
If Ranger's healthy, I go Ranger in the National League over Imanaga at this point.
Yeah, you could also give it to Reynaldo Lopez as well, but I would agree. I would go with Ranger.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's
There we
what we
go.
got, man. All right. We will talk about the super regionals here in a moment. But before that, got to tell you about our friends at Game Time. New friend of the show is Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace in Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. You get killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I've had a great time with Game Time. I know you guys have had a great time with Game Time. Use it for last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, list goes on. Yeah, you get a lowest price guarantee. Yeah, you get panoramic seat views. Yeah, you get all-in pricing, the toggle feature. It is an awesome, awesome app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code JUSTBASEBALL. All caps, one word, JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Just want to end it
Super regionals.
real
Yeah.
quick. It's just so everybody knows, because I've had a lot of people use the code and sometimes it gets confusing. Go to the profile section on Game Time. That's where you put in the code. You don't check out with your tickets and then there's a code. You put it in your profile section when you make the account. And then you'll see, once you make that first purchase, you'll see $20 is taken off using code JustBaseball. That's in the episode description.
Cool. Super regionals. Let's talk about them. Super regionals start tomorrow. You've got 4 games, or super regionals start today. Pardon. This is the Friday show. You got 4 games today, and then you have all 8 super regional series in action on Saturday. Tennessee and Evansville, Florida State and UConn in Tallahassee. Tennessee, Evansville is in Knoxville. NC State and Georgia is in Athens. Oregon A&M is in College Station. Florida Clemson is in Clemson. Cags on the road. Let's see how he does. Virginia, Kansas State in Charlottesville. Oregon State, Kentucky in Lexington. And North Carolina, West Virginia in Chapel Hill. Start with Tennessee, Evansville. The name I know from Tennessee is Blake Burke, Monster Power. They're the #1 team in the country. What do you got on them, Peter?
Well, Blake Burke is pure power, but I think the best player in Tennessee this year has been Christian Moore. Dude's got 29 jacks in 63 games as their second baseman, OPS at 1,200. Blake Burke and Billy Amick, too. This team is just all power. Billy Amick's got 21 jacks and just a great walk-up song. Blake Burke, 17 jacks. Dylan Dreiling, 19 home runs. Kavares Tears, 18 home runs. It's just so much power, and there's a reason that they're the #1 seed and finished the year at 53-11.
Can I ask you what the walk-up song is?
You know me. I don't know the names of these songs.
Oh, you just like
I don't know
you
the
like
names of the songs,
like-
but I've seen it watching TV and I've heard Tennessee fans talking about it. And I know that they do this thing when it's like clapping.
Oh, yeah,
I just don't know the name of the song, but I know they do
Dude's
this.
just
And it's sick.
Dude's just sitting there on his phone like, damn, that goes hard.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's sick. They were putting out hype videos about it, and I just don't know the name of the song, but it's sick.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
I don't know the song.
Gotcha.
They can pitch too. You know, like that's the interesting thing is, like, you know, they're not elite, but the bullpen I think was up there with just about anybody in the SEC. I mean, they were second in bullpen ERA in the SEC, and then they got Drew Beam on the mound, who, you know, is borderline first rounders, guy that's plenty of intrigue and has been, you know, throwing pretty well for them. So I mean, I know Pete Flaherty, this is the team for him. Like, he thinks that they're just on a different level in terms of you know, momentum and firepower, and I can see why. You know, especially when Peter walks us through the numbers.
Right, which is crazy because like 2 years ago, like they were supposed to be the team and they got bounced Supers, but they're the team now and they got Evansville. I will say, because of the underdog thing, I am rooting for Evansville, like
100%,
strongly, very strongly
100%.
rooting for Evansville.
There's
Florida State, UConn. There are a couple of guys here.
I wanted to shout out a player on Evansville.
Okay.
Not going to pretend I know anything. But Kip Fougera, I can't even say it. Fougerousse. Fougeraus?
Oh, I don't know.
Kip Fougeraus, 1,100 OPS this year.
Nice.
21 pumps from this guy. He's 23. Also, this whole team is so old. I love it. They've got a 23-year-old, a 23-year-old, a 24-year-old, another 24-year-old, another 23-year-old, and then like several other 22-year-olds. This team's old as hell. I'm so in on this group. Like I'm gonna like really attach myself to this team, and which means they're getting bounced in 2 games. But I'm excited about it. So yeah, look out for the name that's really long that you're gonna say, oh, that was the name that Arm couldn't say. Fogaroos.
Yeah,
Fogaroos.
I'm not going to pretend I know much about Evansville either, but I'm looking at the numbers here. Mark Schallenberger, another great last name, also 17 home runs, hit 390 this year with a 1252 OPS. He had a bunch of home runs in the
And 7% K rate.
And the fact that Evansville beat ECU, one of the best teams in college baseball this season, like I don't know much about Evansville, but I know a lot about ECU, and they were dominant. Evansville beat them in 2 of 3 games. They beat them in the first game, and then it's like those double elimination when you get there. They lost 19-6, but then battle for a 6-5 win to get here. So it's not like they just beat some no-name schools and they're just randomly here. They beat a really good East Carolina team.
At ECU, which is, I mean, that's as tough of an environment as you're going to find. So, I mean, these guys are like 24 years old. They're unfazed, you know, like they're like, oh, this is nothing compared to the corporate world that faces me. Like I'm just going to play fearless. And that's exactly what they were doing. Team ERA on the year, by the way, of 5.7 out of the starting pitchers, which was actually 3rd in their conference. So, but they rake 301, 410, 509 slash line this past year. So, I mean, they're going to swing it. I think you're going to see a lot of runs in some really long games.
Damn. All right. Florida State, UConn. That's in Tallahassee. Cam Smith, James Tibbs are the 2 names that jump out. James Tibbs, the 3rd, was the ACC Player of the Year. That's a guy that I really don't know much about. Cam Smith can bring the freaking boom, though, Aram.
Yeah. So Tibbs has had as much draft helium as anybody. And I mean, the OPS almost at 1,300 this year, walked more than he struck out. He's a guy that, you know, I think with a strong super here too, like can really start to play his way into the early part of the first round.
Really?
Between him and Cam Smith, like those 2 guys back to back, I think it's not as much notoriety as you mentioned. Like I didn't know a ton about Tibbs going into the year, and it's been fun to see more and more, but like those 2 guys back to back, I think are as dangerous of a tandem as you're going to find in, you know, the rest of the way here in college baseball. And then they've got plenty of other complementary pieces too. I mean, they hit 313 as a team this year, and that was 2nd best in the ACC. They also were 2nd best in the ACC in slug. So, I mean, they can absolutely swing it. Cam Smith's going to be a top 15 pick too. And I love what he's doing. This is a team that I'm probably top of my list in terms of like excited to tune into and see what they do offensively and just see what they've got going on. Don't know a ton about the pitching, but you know, they were good enough, it seemed like, for most of the year, but I know command is an issue for the team.
In terms of tandems, I will say Smith and Tibbs are playing for 2nd. There's another one later on in the supers that I'll shout out real quick.
In terms of the pitching for Florida State, I watched Jamie Arnold start. He just, against UCF, 7 innings, 2 runs, 12 Ks. He's got a 2.45 ERA this year. He's 11-3, striking out 14 per 9 in 95 innings. So that's their guy on the mound. But UConn, it's funny. I'm shocked UConn is even here. They kind of limped into this in the Big East Championship before the regionals. They lost both games. They lost to Georgetown and they lost to Xavier. But that just goes to show why college baseball is the best, because literally anything can happen. They beat Duke, who I have a future on to win the College World Series. That's done. Then they go into Oklahoma. They win the first game, lose the second game, then win the 3rd game 7-1. So again, they had a tough trip to get here. Oklahoma was great, and Duke was one of my picks to win the whole damn thing. So I'm pretty shocked that UConn is even here, but they proved that all you got to do is get a little hot, and then you just
I mean, no one really jumps off the page on this team, you know, when you look at the statistics and everything. So just, again, it goes to show, like you said, that you get hot at the right time, and especially in college ball, and you play as a cohesive unit, and you got a team that has just really good chemistry and really likes playing together. And, you know, some good things can happen, but it also helps when, you know, you're best in your conference when it comes to striking guys out and limiting walks. And those are both things that UConn did in the regular season. I think that's something that they've really honed in on down the stretch here.
Okay, NC State, Georgia in Athens. I really don't know much about NC State at all, but Charlie Condon is playing more baseball. And, you know, like I guess it's a toss-up between Bazana and Condon at this point. I feel like a lot of people seem to be leaning Bazana when it comes to the #1 overall pick for Cleveland, but Condon, man, like every time you get to watch this guy swing a BB core bat, something amazing can happen.
1,600 OPS for Charlie Condon, hitting 445 with 36 home runs. It's unbelievable. But Georgia isn't just here because Charlie Condon is amazing. I mean, he's a huge reason why, but this offense is just overwhelming. Corey Collins has 19 home runs, and he's hitting 361 with a near 1,400 OPS. Slate Alford, their second baseman, he's got 16 home runs. Dylan Goldstein, their right fielder, 12 home runs. Trey Phelps, their DH, 10 home runs. And their shortstop, Colby Branch, he's only hitting 262, and a 913 OPS is not good for them. That's how good their offense is. He also has 17 home runs. You look at the pitching staff, and it's like, okay, but they get here and they win in high scoring games. That's why in the regional, they win 8-7. They won 11-2, and then they won 8-6. Like, this team is scoring 8. To beat them, you're going to have to score 9.
Well, and I just hope that those other guys that you mentioned kind of pick up, behind Condon, because it was a little frustrating in the last round. Just he wasn't getting pitched to at all, and they just started intentionally walking him no matter what the situation was, or just pitching around him. So, it's on those guys to keep slugging and make them pitch to Condon, or get on base ahead and make them pitch to Condon, because that's a guy that's going to take you over the top. And I don't blame teams for not pitching to him, but it's a little bit frustrating because you want to see him swing the bat. But if I was a coach, I'd do the same thing with what Condon's been able to do this year from a contact and power perspective. But NC State's got some intrigue too. And in terms of draft prospects, Jacob Cozart, catcher, is, I think, right on the edge of a first rounder, one of the better, catcher prospects in the draft. They've got some other guys that can really swing it as well. Like they're a pretty good offense, but I don't think anything jumps off the page with them. And I think Georgia's probably comfortably going to be the favorite here. But as you know, like, you got to play the games, and NC State's been playing some pretty good ball late.
I'm just kind of surprised that NC State is even here a little bit too, because South Carolina was in their region and I thought they were going to roll, but NC State beat them 6-4 and then beat a really good JMU team 5-3. And even Bryan is no slouch either. So they didn't have a loss going here, and they beat some good teams. So they could be dangerous. I personally think that Georgia's going to roll them. I just think there's too much offense here, and it's just going to be one of those like 11-9 wins by Georgia. They hit too much.
Oregon goes to College Station, and the reason that I said Smith and Tibbs are playing for second is because Braden Montgomery and Lavalette are in the same lineup, and A&M, like, listen, Duke's out. I know Tennessee's the one. A&M has to have as good of a shot as anybody to win this whole thing, right?
100%. Like, you talk about Jace Laviolette and Braden Montgomery, between them, they have 65 home runs. But Gavin Gravik?
Pause. You said 65 homers between two people in a college season?
Yeah.
55.
55. Sorry, excuse me. I did my math wrong.
Dude.
Jace Laviolette, 28 jacks. Braden Montgomery, 27 jacks.
That's tough addition from you.
Tough addition. It is what it is. 55 home runs.
That's a lot of homers.
Gravik also has 22. Jackson Apple, APPEL. Please let it be Apple and not a Pell.
No, it's a Pell. It's absolutely a Pell.
I know it's got to be a Pell for sure. He's got 10 home runs, 13 steals. They have, like, their whole team is hitting 300. And then they have Ryan Prager on the mound with a 2.53 ERA. He's 8-1. So they have an elite Friday guy. They have an offense that hits for power and for average. This team is loaded. Oregon kind of limped in here. Not really limped, but I just don't view them as that great of a team. I think Texas A&M dominates them.
Texas A&M is probably one of the more well-rounded teams you got, in this that's left here. I mean, what they did offensively on the mound, you mentioned, it's another first-round arm that they got there as well, that they can lean on. But, I think having those tandem of hitters is obviously huge when we talk about the protection and, and just having two different guys that can pretty much bail you out. And then Grahovic also having 22 homers of his own. Like, my concern with this team, though, is they will punch out, plenty. And, they punched out some of the most in the SEC. And, like, I mean, they'll whiff. So, like, if you run into a tough arm, like, they could get cold. And that could be the one way that they kind of get blitzed. But, I mean, they were 47-13 for a reason. Like, they can beat you in a lot of different ways.
I'm glad you brought that up, Aram, because if we're looking at the pitchers for Oregon, like, they can strike out guys. Like Grayson Grinsell had 9 strikeouts in his regional matchup. I think it was against San Diego. But RJ Gordon, their main guys throwing the most innings, 8.2 strikeouts per nine. Kevin Cedar, 8.8 strikeouts per nine. And then Grinsell is like their strikeout guy at 11.6, but their starters aren't going to punch you out like maybe some other teams.
Yeah. All right. Next one, Florida at Clemson. In Clemson, again, Cags on the road. Caglione is the name to watch. Cam Canarella. I know Canarella is going to be not this year, right? He's a 25 draft prospect, but he's like near the tippy top of that 25 class, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. They got a lot of intrigue too. But they're more pitching driven. So it's going to be interesting. Like Canarella is going to be a guy that obviously needs to really perform for them, but like they're not a team. I mean, everyone can swing at the tier, but I think for them, it's mostly been the pitching. Like Clemson led the ACC in starting pitcher ERA, bullpen ERA was third.
They have a kid named Knack, right? N-K-N-A-A.
Yeah, it's N-A or K-N-A-A-K, Aiden Knack.
That's very Alaskan of him. That feels super like, Fairbanks, Alaska.
And dude, they don't walk anybody. They don't walk anybody. For a college team to be sub 10% walk rate, like, so again, it's another team that if you're not hitting the ball that well, like game can get away from you quickly because they're going to get you out. They get a lot of ground balls. Like that's what they do. But at the same time, like if they get behind, I don't know if they have the same offense as some of these other teams to be able to work out of that deficit. So it should be a fun matchup, but this would be one of the lower scoring, I think, matchups.
Yeah, Aiden Knack, 2.96 ERA. And if we're looking at a Florida team, like Jack Caglione is such a freaking monster. 31 bombs, only struck out 23 times the entire year, hit 410 with a 1373 OPS. He's got to be pissed too because he wasn't a Golden Spikes finalist. That was Hagen Smith, Travis Bazzana, and Charlie Condon. All three of those guys deserve it, but it's tough to look at those numbers that Jack Caglione put up for Florida and say, no, you're not one of the three finalists. Maybe not to win, but not to even get in the finals. That's how good some of the talent is in college baseball right now. And to just go back to the point,
Kyle Schwarber hybrid. Sorry, Caglione, Gregory Soto, Kyle Schwarber,
something like that. Like Florida went 32-28 this year.
Yeah,
that's the worst record of any team that's in this region or in this super regional, right now. So Florida's going to get a lot of buzz because of Caglione, but I would watch out for Clemson just to kind of dismantle this team as long as they can just stay away from those 119 mile an hour home runs that Cags hit. You guys see that? Holy shit, He's pulsating 119. I know it's with a metal bat, but still, it's crazy.
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on this series, like I said, could be low scoring if Florida's having some of these guys step up the way they did last time around. But I mean, Florida's pitching was uncharacteristically brutal this year overall, like a 7.67 starter ERA. That was 14th out of 14 in the SEC. So, something's got to give here though, right? And I think the thing that would probably give is that Clemson will probably be able to still hit, at a higher level. And it's not like they can't hit. So I think it's an uphill battle for Florida, but they're always loaded with talent. It just wasn't there for them for most of the year. And it seems like to be coming together at the right time.
Next one is Virginia, Kansas State in Charlottesville. I know nothing about Kansas State. Virginia, here's what I know. Griff O'Farrell is kind of a sick college shortstop name. He's a shortstop, right? that again is my extent on Virginia. I think he's the shortstop. The other thing is they had Geloffs, they had Zach and Jake. They've got Teals now. Kyle went. I don't think Aiden plays much, but they have another Teal on the roster. And I was like, you got a Geloff, you got a Teal. Like if Big Bro is that good, I got to watch out for Little Bro too. And it's not like Jake Geloff is a slouch right now either.
No. And they rake. UVA absolutely rakes. Like again, relative to the SEC or to the ACC, first 336 batting average, 428 OBP, 577 slug. They also don't K. So I mean, really impressive offense, I think, and really well balanced across the board. I think the one thing that gets underrated with Kansas State too is like, they can play, and they've got a first round guy in Kalen Culpepper as well. But UVA, they can hit, not great pitching staff wise. Like a lot of their numbers not great there. So this could be another one of those higher scoring series. I don't know a ton about Kansas State beyond Culpepper, but I do know that Culpepper is a guy that you want to tune into and is a guy that will be in the first round this year.
Yeah, in terms of the pitchers for Virginia, they have one guy, Evan Blanco, 85 innings, 3.57 ERA. He went 7-3 this year, plenty of strikeouts. Like he's their guy. But yeah, Evan,
I'm
or
sorry, you
excuse me,
said
go
yeah,
ahead.
you said Evan Blanco.
Yeah,
Did he
Blanco.
yeah, did he also get a long-term pre-arb deal as a first baseman?
I don't understand. I don't understand
It's
the
the
point, Carl.
Spanish alter ego of Evan White.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Do you
That
remember
one went
Henry
over my
Blanco,
head.
the catcher for the Cubs? Do you remember Henry Blanco at all?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah,
like
I
backup
do.
catcher. He was Gio Soto's backup. There was like a certain subset of Cubs fans that called him Hank White the entire time. And I was like, that's pretty funny.
That's good. I like that.
So I don't know much about a lot of the players on Kansas State outside of Culpepper, but what I do know is that I'm shocked that they're even here. In the Big 12 championship, they lost to Kansas, then they beat West Virginia, and then they lost to TCU. So they came in here somewhat limping, and then they beat Arkansas. Like Arkansas, again, one of my futures. I loved Arkansas this year. I'm not sure if you guys remember, was that Hagen Smith's rough start? I think it was against this Kansas State team.
Yeah, it was. When he, what, 5 in the 5th? It was against K-State.
Yeah. So the fact that they beat Hagen Smith to get here after limping in initially is insane. That's why college baseball is so much fun. And then they beat the living piss out of Louisiana Tech, who was a good team, and they beat them 19-4. They won all 3 games to get here. I don't understand how. But Virginia, be on notice because this is just a random team that got really hot, and those teams can make major noise in this super regional. Not random team, but you know what I'm saying. It's just this team was not. I mean, they went 35-24 and lost 2 in their Big 12 championship matchups. Like, they're not the best team here, but they're hot.
Understood. We got 2 more, I think. In Lexington, Bazana on the road. The Aussie second baseman sees a Quebecois second baseman. I'm team Edouard Julien. Emilien Petrie, I think was second team all SEC. This dude can fly. And like Kentucky's a team that I've kind of kept tabs on a little bit this year because they are not supposed to be the number 2 team in America, but here we are. And this has been a hell of a coaching job. It's been a hell of a program build. They've produced a couple of big leaguers here and there, but this is not a powerhouse of the SEC. Is Kentucky like really all that, or is this going to be Bazana going yard 4 times over the span of 3 games, and the Beavs are heading back to Omaha?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Kentucky's a weird one where I mean they played really well. They're 43-14 this year, but I don't know a lot of players on the team. Like I don't know a ton about what they've got going on. If you look at statistics across the board, like pretty balanced across the board. So it just seems like they're just playing really good ball overall right now. But yeah, I on paper it seems like Oregon State would run away with this one, considering that they are literally among the best in the Pac-12 at everything. And some of the best in the country at just about everything with the way that they can pitch and obviously hit. So this one seems like it's going to be lopsided, but again, whenever you think that doesn't happen, but this one does feel like it could be more lopsided.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Oregon State can get through this Kentucky team. And like you look at the roster and stuff, and nothing really jumps out of you outside of the speed because they got 4 guys who have stolen more than 10 bases and 2 guys. You talked about Petrie, and they also have Waldschmidt, who have both stolen 24 bags this year. And they have some good pitchers as well. But then I'm just looking at the top with Oregon State. Mike McDowell, who's also hitting 403, right? Travis Bazana, we know how good he is. He's hitting 415. So they have 2 boppers at the front. And then they have a really good trio of arms, all guys with an ERA below 5, 2 guys with an ERA below 3.3 in the rotation who have all had plenty of starts this season. It does feel like Oregon State is the better team, but Kentucky has been awesome this year, just doing whatever they can to win ball games.
What position does Mike McDowell play?
Mike McDowell is their center fielder.
Okay, so this actually helps my narrative even more. I'm officially on Mike McDowell watch because you remember the last Oregon State second baseman that went top 5?
Madrigal.
You remember who the center fielder was that was kind of mincemeat?
Quan.
Who's going to be better?
Just
Bazana or Mike McDowell? Like, I'm just saying, man.
Just put it out there before it comes true because it probably will. It's past history.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, like, did Madrigal hit for any power at all? No. Does Bazan have like 30-ish homers? Yeah, but does it fit the narrative?
Do you guys, by chance, know what Nick Madrigal hit his last year at Oregon State?
Like
Do we know?
415 or something?
Wasn't it higher? I thought it was almost close to 500 or something like that.
I think he like didn't swing and miss once.
Once. We talked about that in a
Absolutely
previous
insane.
episode.
One more super. North Carolina, West Virginia in Chapel Hill. Honeycutt, Weatherholt, two guys to watch.
I mean, this might be one of the best like matchups in terms of draft intrigue and talent. Like Weatherholt also still trying to kind of make up for lost time. So I feel like he's just going to be absolutely aggressive at the plate and just trying to do as much as he can. And he really is like the key cog to what makes everything go there. Whereas UNC they've got a lot more pieces, but if you're going to tune into that series, the one thing that I think you should be always looking out for is Vance Honeycutt's defense in center field. He's the best defender in the country out there. And you know, anytime you tune in, there's a chance that he's going to do something special for UNC out there defensively. Got a lot of power. There's some questions about the hit tool. And so it's going to be interesting to see how he performs now against some of the better competition. But now I'm very excited to just get more looks at and more ABs of Weatherholt and Honeycutt, because those are two guys that, should be going in the top half of the first round.
Yeah, while you're watching Honeycutt just play beautiful baseball, check out the rest of this lineup. They have two guys who I think destroy baseballs. Parks Harbor and Casey Cook. Harbor has 20 bombs. Casey Cook has 18, and they're both hitting 343 and 345. They have four hitters outside of Vance Honeycutt who are hitting above 340. This lineup absolutely rakes.
All right. Hitters of the week. Peter, you got him?
I do. You want to start guessing? First one's really easy, and he seems to be the hitter of the week every single week in May so far.
Is it Judge?
It is Aaron Judge. Over the last 7 games, he's got a 323 WRC plus. Nobody else in Major League Baseball is above 275 / 417, 548, slugged over 1,000 for the Yankees. Damn, he's good. He's the only player to put up one F4 this past week. Put up 1.0 F4. Yeah, we'll take that. So, to give you guys some hints, we have an American League West player coming in at number 2.
American League West. Luke Raley.
Nope.
Oh, you know who's gotten hot? Hasn't Breggy gotten hot?
Bregman's gotten so hot, and he comes in at number 2 with his 272 WRC plus, put up a 0.8 F4 during the span, 370, 926 slug. Contract year, finally. Let's get you going, Bregman. Number 3, we got an NL West player. I could give you position, but think about it. He's a young player who just burst onto the scene for a team that really needs offense.
Matos.
Elliot Ramos.
Aram gets it. Ramos gets it. 271 WRC plus. 391 he hit during that span. 0.8 F4. 3 bombs. 7 driven in. Number 4, another NL West player. This time he's a big time name.
Ohtani?
Nope. That team though.
One of those guys? Mookie?
Nope.
Freddie?
Freeman?
Will Smith.
You
just go down the line. Hit 400 this week, 266 WRC plus. Yeah. And he walked 4.5% of the time, struck out 4.5% of the time.
Nice.
So number 5, big time name, AL East.
Big time name, AL East. See another Yankee?
Yes.
Is it Soto?
It is Soto. Juan Soto / 391, 531, 826 for a 263 WRC plus and a couple of bombs. Just rounding out the top 10. Aram, Jesus Sanchez lit this past week. 257 WRC plus for him. Fernando Tatis Jr. number 7. Nolan Gorman number 8. Andy Pajes number 9. Brandon Lowe back and hitting the baseball finally. That's your top 10.
They need him. They need him. That's nice. Hopefully he can stay on the field.
I love it. All right, let's wrap up games of the weekend here. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Nestor Cortez in New York. It has not been announced as the probables, but Cortez would line up for this start here. Yamamoto has been announced. Where do we go? That's tonight at 7:05.
Well, I want to say something. I'm very upset with Aram. He's going to Chicago this weekend and won't be going to Dodgers Yankees with me. Piece of shit. Has other plans when we could be going to Dodgers Yankees, and I'm picking the damn Yankees to win all 3 of these games. So Nestor, I don't care who starts. Yankees.
I'm excited. I think Yamamoto turns in a good one. I'll go Dodgers.
Okay. Braves Nats in DC. Sale Jake Irvin at 6:45. Remember, the Braves can't hit right now, and Irvin's kind of been throwing.
Struck out 10 plus against them in his last start, but Sale's coming off a horrific start. I feel like he bounces back. Give me the Braves.
Let's compound the struggle there. I'll go the other way.
How about that? Okay. In Cincinnati, Lodolo and Steele, Cubs Reds.
Under.
I think it's in Great American Ballpark, though.
Still under. I'll go. I don't like the Cubs against lefty. I don't even know what the numbers are. Every time I watch them against the lefty, it doesn't look great.
Because Talkman's not in the lineup.
I'll go Reds in that one.
I'll go Reds as well.
Saturday, 4:10, same ballpark. Andrew Abbott, Ben Brown in Cubs Reds.
Woo. It's a fun series.
Abbott is just such a stud, dude. And like, I love Ben Brown, and I freaking bet on Ben Brown. His last start, he gave up 5 earned. I'm gonna go with the Andrew Abbott in the Reds.
Yeah, I'll go Abbott in the Reds too, because I mean, last start literally Ben Brown just got roughed up a little bit by the Reds, and now they're playing back at home. Yeah, I'll go with the Reds again. 2 out of 3.
Same type of narrative. 4:05 in DC. Braves Nats. Charlie Morton, Mackenzie Gore against the Braves offense.
This is the one where
in Nats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mackenzie Gore is on another level right now, dude. Like in the Nationals offense isn't totally a slouch right now. So I think the Nats steal the first one.
Got you. We're running into like issues where there aren't many probables announced, so I have to unfortunately skip to Monday at this point. Cubs Reds 1:40. Hell of a weekend. Imanaga, Frankie Montas.
Almost.
And Imanaga in that ballpark, man, gives me nightmares.
I know. Montes is coming off that incredible start in Colorado. I'm pretty sure he had a no-hitter through 5 or 6 innings. Dude was dealing at elevation. Maybe this is a start that Imanaga finally gets hurt, but the Reds have just not been good against lefties this year. So you turn around Ellie De La Cruz and he can't hit anything. I'll go with the Cubs.
I think the Reds shock the Cubs and sweep. The Cubs have played terrible baseball lately. They've just gotten bailed out by the White Sox having the worst pitching staff in the world. I mean, they've been down 5-0 back-to-back times and just get gift wrapped to W. So I think they get punched in the mouth here. Reds really need to win. And Shota Imanaga, I said the one thing I'm concerned about: home runs. 3 home runs in the last 2 starts. Goes to Great American Ballpark. I think they sneak out some home runs. I like the Reds again.
All right, 2 more games. Seattle, Kansas City in Kansas City on Sunday at 2:10. George Kirby, Cole Reagans.
Oh, that's so sick.
Wait for this matchup, Sunday Night Baseball. But give me this answer.
Is this where is it?
In Kansas City.
I'll take the Royals then. They're just so prolific at home. And I love Kirby, but the Royals are just so good at Kauffman.
I like the ball of Seattle starting to play. I think Kirby keeps that offense at bay, that top heavy offense a little bit, goes right after him.
Okay. Sunday Night Baseball. Glasnow has been announced. Yankee rotation lines up for Luis Heel. Glasnow, Luis Heel, Sunday Night Baseball. Before you give me a winner, this is a top blank matchup of the year.
Top 1. You got the best pitcher in baseball facing off against a pretty good pitcher for the Dodgers. I will go with the Yankees by 6.
I like the Yankees in that one. I can't lie.
Damn right you do. Let's go.
That's crazy. That's what I got. Peter, do the merch thing.
Go get yourself some Just Baseball merch, ladies and gentlemen. You can find it in the episode description. And if you enjoyed this, we did All Stars, we did college baseball, we did games of the weekend, we talked about Skenes and Ohtani was a loaded episode. And if you enjoyed and you don't want to spend a dime, we totally understand. If you could rate and review 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that's the best way to support this show. While also pressing that big red subscribe button on YouTube. Very, very helpful for everybody out there listening. Of course, we'll be back on Monday. For Jack McMullen, Arm Layton, I am Peter Apple. And with that, thank you, everybody.